Ghostemane is by far the most requested artist I've ever had on this channel, and at first I didn't really understand why that was. Don't get me wrong, I did listen to him quite a bit in high school, but just like the Suicide Boys, I never really understood the sound. But as time went on, his music grew and evolved, I started to become a fan, and now that I've researched him for this video and heard just how down to earth he really is, I'm an even bigger fan. So without further ado, let me tell you what I found when I look into the story of Ghostemane. Eric Whitney was born on April 15, 1991 in Palm Beach, Florida. He grew up alongside his brother, who would also go on to become a rap artist known as Horace Black. Their childhood was fairly normal too, growing up in a good neighborhood in a two-parent household, and the family was never even that religious either, even actively going against organized religion, leading Ghostemane to have a more nuanced outlook on life once he got older. Unfortunately though, that didn't mean that their life was without problems, because his father was injured in a car accident while Ghost was still young, leaving him with damage to his spine, and at first that didn't affect his mobility in any way, but he would refuse to get medical treatment for the pain, and after throwing his back out one day while he was at work, he was left partially paralyzed. His father being unable to walk without the aid of a cane led him to become a lump on the couch, taking copious amounts of Oxycontin to help with his chronic pain, and he would not allow his family to travel or even go out and do things without him, telling his sons, "We'll do it eventually when I get better," but unfortunately, he never got better. He wasn't all bad though, because he did buy Ghostemane a guitar for his 14th birthday. It wasn't the best model because he still wanted his son to pursue sports instead of music, but he did want to help him out with his passion. As soon as Ghostemane got his hands on the guitar, he would play it every day, try to work on his craft, and even wanted to start a punk band with his high school friends. Punk and metal were two genres that really spoke to young Ghostemane. He felt like he couldn't talk to anybody about his emotional problems, but after hearing this music for the first time, echoing exactly how he felt inside, he really attached onto it. It was definitely a far cry from the Eminem that he grew up listening to. That was the only rapper his dad would actually put on. After years of trying to get his band off the ground, he finally managed to pull a couple friends together to make a band called Nemesis. They never ended up touring, mostly due to the fact they were lazy and drank too much, but they did manage to release some actual music on CD. Things didn't stay good forever though, because at the age of 17, Ghost's father would finally pass away. This left him hollow and dead inside, but at the same time he felt some sort of sick relief. His life was finally all his own. He was no longer controlled by the will of his father, and he could do anything he wanted to. But soon after that, he was left all alone when his mother would move back to New York, leaving him to fend for himself at the age of 18. So Ghost got right to work, doing retail jobs, working in call centers, and eventually even attempted to enlist in the army. He did pretty well on the testing, and he was actually about to deploy right before his music started to take off. But despite working almost 50 hours a week, he still found time to make music with the band, go to punk shows, get into random fist fights with other concert attendees, which he did eventually stop doing because he actually got violently arrested by a couple of police officers for having a fully legal firearm in his car. It's kind of a messy situation, and he never really should have gotten in trouble for it, but he actually was forced to sit in jail for a full weekend, and after that he knew he wanted to stay out of trouble because he never wanted to go back there. Not long after that altercation, he made his first ever rap song in 2012, a four-man cipher over a Naughty by Nature beat that only appeared on the physical CD version of From the Neighborhood by, well, his band Nemesis. It was basically created because they wanted to try something a little bit different for their first ever album, and it wasn't put on the digital edition because I guess Ghostemane didn't really want anybody to hear this after he started rapping professionally, but soon after that he would start to take it more seriously. This is when he created his first ever rap persona known as Ill Biz, dropping songs like Pimp Slide and South Side. These early tracks were very reminiscent of Eminem, but you could hear a little bit of that grimy Florida sound peeking through. In 2013, he would drop his first mixtape called 1991, both physically and on Daft Pip, before he ever started a SoundCloud account. But another Florida white boy who sounded just like Eminem really wasn't going to turn any heads in the music world, so he had to start working on his style. This is when he made a full pivot, changing his name to Ghostemane and going for a more punk-inspired sound. He dropped his first tape under that name in mid-2014 called Blunts and Brass Monkeys, which to me kind of sounds like a mix of Young Lean and the early Suicide Boys. I'm not sure if he would have known about the Suicide Boys at this time. They were both on the come up around the same time, but I think the Suicide Boys got bigger a little bit earlier on. But either way, what he was doing sounded unique to his fans at the time, and it would help him start to get an actual fan base behind him. He would continue to drop EPs like Taboo and Knocking Wood on Daft Pip, but after that his girlfriend would show him SoundCloud and a whole new world opened up to him, because at the time the Florida scene was fairly dead, so much so that he couldn't even find venues to perform at in his hometown, which made it very difficult for an upcoming artist like himself, especially with such a unique style, to find friends and make connections in the music industry. But SoundCloud was able to to fill that void for him. He would start to join rap groups, put his music in different playlists, and after a few years, he was starting to get a bit of a buzz. By 2016, he had at least 6 mixtapes under his belt and was ready to make his next big move in his career. This is when Ghostemane came across a Facebook post by a rapper known as Jay Green, who was heavily associated with 3 6 Mafia in their early days. It turns out Green was looking for upcoming artists to join his newly formed Schema Posse collective, and Ghost signed on right away. At first, this basically only served as an internet partnership where Jay Green would repost all of Ghostemane's songs, but after a while, Ghostemane knew that he had to take the next big step in his career, so he sold all his things, uprooted his life, and moved to LA to be part of the group in real life. Once he arrived, he would move into the Schema House, which was an insane environment full of almost 30 SoundCloud rappers all doing drugs all the time. This was a pretty big adjustment for Ghostemane because him himself, he really never did drugs because he was always afraid to get hooked on anything, and after watching his father basically kill himself with Oxycontin, he had no interest in becoming a drug addict. So he would just stick to drinking and the occasional psychedelic to try to open up his mind. Even though this house was pure chaos, he was able to make some good connections with artists like Lil Peep, Craig Zen, and Wavy Jones, and he also dropped 2 full projects called Ooga Booga and For the Aspiring Occultist, the latter of which went on to get him a lot of buzz in the burgeoning SoundCloud scene, and it even included a Suicide Boys feature on the track Saboku. Even though the posse was made up of a lot of members, Green had brought in both Ghost and Peep to be the 2 faces of the new group, so when he went on No Jumper, he decided to bring them both along. This definitely was a big deal for all 3 artists involved, seeing as how big the podcast was and how influential it was in the early Florida wave, putting on people like Puya and the Suicide Boys, but Jay Green made sure to ruin that situation by talking the entire time and undermining both his partners for the whole interview. It's uncertain exactly why this happened, but before the interview even got a chance to drop, both Ghostemane and Lil Peep would announce they were leaving the Schema Posse to focus on their own solo music careers. When Ghost left, he would also take Wavy Jones with him, and with his new producer Nabar now in the picture, the 3 went straight to work on creating some new projects. This led to Ghost dropping 3 mixtapes in 2016 called Ritual, Plague, and Black Mage. Black Mage in particular was his first breakout project in the underground, where he really sounds like the style we now know and love. Some fans would describe this as him finally going full Ghost, and with the headlining single off that project known as Venom doing crazy numbers online, his rise was imminent. He would then follow that project up with a little EP known as Damon 3, meant to hold his fans back while he worked on his next big album. He also managed to get booked as an opener at a Suicide Boys show that same year, and this is where Ghostemane would meet Puya for the first time. And even though Puya was already pretty big in the scene, he saw a lot of potential in Ghostemane and wanted to co-sign him before he blew up. This is when the 2 decided they should go on tour together, but right before they left, they realized they had no collaboration tracks that they could actually perform together while they were doing shows, so they threw together the song 1000 Rounds, not thinking too much of it, but before they knew it, it blew up basically overnight. The song was a hit, and it was immediately followed up by a Genius interview, and then Ghostemane got a second appearance on No Jumper where he actually got a chance to speak, and then finally he capitalized on all the hype going around his name at the time by dropping his biggest album to date, Hexada. And on this project there was a track known as Mercury that went on to become the biggest hit that Ghostemane ever had. It would go on to get a music video on the Trash AMV channel with some creepy 30 inspired cartoon visuals that went on to get over 520 million views. Don't get me wrong, this is a crazy amount of views for anybody, but for somebody like Ghostemane who's still considered underground, it's a completely insane amount of views. I think we can safely say that the Puya cosign went a long way, and it wasn't just a one and done either because the 2 still remain good friends even to this day. The year after that we would get the project known as Noise, and this is where we can start to hear Ghostemane incorporate more trap metal elements into his music. That was followed up by his next big hit, a track he created with a Russian artist known as Pharaoh called Blood Oceans, and this helped him grow in Europe as well as Russia where his music is the most popular. This is because in those dark drab places in the middle of Europe, life can be pretty dark and bleak, and with not much focus put on mental health services, most people will turn to music to hear their own emotions spoken back to them. So just in the same way that punk music used to help Ghostemane express his emotions through that music, he's now able to help other people through his own music. This would lead to a European tour in 2019 where he also hit Canada as well. After that he would perform at Lollapalooza, Rolling Loud, and most prominently, Grey Day, a concert that's put on every year that features big name artists like Suicide Boys, City Morgue, and most importantly, Cemetery. That's a joke by the way. At this point it seems like Ghostemane has carved out a pretty good part of the rap game for himself. His career is very successful. He's managed to put on people like his brother Horace Black as well as getting his band Nemesis more recognition than they could ever expect. But seeing as how he's still somewhat in the underground, things haven't all been good because there are many claims online that have popped up recently about Ghost being an abuser. To start off with, there's a story from 2019 of him and his girlfriend Ivy Suicide getting into a fight where he actually ended up accusing her of domestic abuse, and then he slapped her with a restraining order and the court allowed it. As well as some more recent rumors spreading about the negative relationship he had with the artist known as Poppy, who he actually dated back in 2021. They were even engaged at one point and she directed a couple of his music videos, but all of that is way too much to cover for right now, so that'll have to be its own video sometime soon. But for now, things are good because Ghostemane just got married to his girlfriend Sky Fires and the two look pretty happy together. Fans are saying that Ghost looks more healthy than he has in years, and he's still releasing music, doing sold out shows, putting on for the underground, and doing his thing. So for now, it's shout out Ghostemane, and I'm hoping I don't find anything too damning while researching him. God bless the underground, and talk to you guys later. Before I talk to you guys later, shout out Knife Gang, leave a knife emoji in the comments below so I know that you watched the end of this video. Also follow me on Instagram if you want to talk about anything at all, get an interview on the second channel, Twisted Society, or maybe you want your music listened to by me and reacted to on the second channel as well. Well, if you want that, join the Discord server and we can get that done. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching. Bye.